topic of science, I wanted to ask you this Thomas Kuhn's book. What's the book called? You
The
mention it
Science-
everywhere.
Scientific Revolutions, you're probably thinking.
Yeah, and I looked it on Amazon, and it's apparently very big and huge. So is it like a big book or something? And when did you read it? At what age and how? Like,
Oh, I think the book came out late 50s, late 60s, at least half a century ago. I
oh
probably
yeah, I just read the Wikipedia article. It came out in '62.
Okay, yeah. So I read it probably in the late 70s when I was a teenager in junior high. I had a great junior high school teacher, a science teacher. His name was Ronald Wallenfels. He was everything that a teacher should be. Just digress for 30 seconds. Two incidents stand out that made him a great teacher. One was that he once brought a Vietnam veteran friend of his into the class, and the veteran gave a little story of how he had to kill a child so that he could, a Vietnamese child, so that the child might not go back to his village and report that American troops were in there, because they could have been Viet Cong. And it was a very powerful moment. And the other thing that I remember is he brought in a glass jar with formaldehyde with a human fetus in it, and he explained the difference as to why this was a fetus. This is human tissue, but it's not a human being. This guy, this is everything you want from a teacher. And I believe it was this guy, Ronald Wallenfels, who might have been the fellow. It was either him or maybe it was another teacher, but I think it was Mr. Wallenfels who told me and a few other kids to read The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. The basic thrust of it being that ideas in science, but it can be applied elsewhere, go through several stages. That first they're rejected outright. Oh, that's just silly nonsense. Then after some time goes by, they're like, well, let's take a look at this silliness. Then some more times go by, they're actively engaging it. Then as more time goes by, it's like, well, that silly idea, that was right. It becomes accepted as right. Then what happens? The silly idea becomes dogma. And so you go from total shit to believing in the thing as dogma. And then some new idea has to come along that will upset the dogma. And so this is how things go around. And it's because human beings are so goddamn predictable, generally speaking.
Yeah, yeah,
And the same thing happens in the arts, same thing happens in politics. Look at
yeah.
what they call climate change or global warming. I mean, there are people who still deny that human beings are affecting the global warming. The Greenland ice cap is going to melt. The seas are going to go. The sea level is going to go up by probably 20 to 30 feet. If Antarctica totally melts in another 50 years, it's going to go up, another 150 to 200 feet. We're going to lose all of Florida. We're going to lose London, New York. Your city, Mumbai, is going to be underwater. And all of Bangladesh will be gone. People are going to be like, how do you not accept this is science? I always say, stop being such fucking monkeys. Stop thinking that some God is going to, we can change it, we can do it. But what's probably going to happen is going to take another 10 years or so before governments get on the ball. And, but anyway, that's it about.
Oh yeah, but I think before that something natural might happen. Who knows? I mean, like something a huge catastrophe would get people's attention.
People, I think human beings are such navel gazers. I wrote a little article about what would happen if life was discovered back in 2001, 18 years ago, and I posited that if life was discovered, that we would have a sudden race to try to get to the nearest star or that star where it was, because we'd want to exploit the resources. And I think I was a bit wrong in thinking that it would matter, because in the interim, in the last 18 years, the internet has exploded. And I think, for example, if we got proof, let's say, that there was life on a planet, we saw the photochemical signature of the planet, and it could only have been caused by life, most people would be like, oh, that's interesting. There's life on another planet or whatnot. But when's the latest Avengers movie coming out?
Yeah.
In all honesty, I don't think your average person here in the West, and especially they don't give a fuck. They don't.